I don't, like, Russia itself acknowledged in 1991 that these are the borders of Ukraine. We accept that Ukraine's a sovereign nation. And then in 2014, it took Crimea. Like, I don't know. The only reason it would be a threat to Russia if Russia wants to fucking interfere with Ukraine. As long as Russia doesn't interfere with its fucking sovereign country, it's fine. It's chill. Because Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons in exchange for not being invaded. If we show the world that if a powerful enough country just fucking rolls in and invades you if you don't have nuclear weapons, and every single country is going to need nuclear weapons. Can you show me your Ukraine notes? Oh yeah, no problem, bro. Yeah. You know, we'll get there eventually. Yeah. It's like, it's just like an easy thing. Like, I don't need notes for it, because it's just like, well, one of these sides invaded a sovereign country. Yeah, for territorial expansion. And the other side is defending itself. And it's like, well, you know, I wonder, yeah. One of these sides literally recognized, I don't think it's that simple. I mean, you can make arguments for fucking NATO expansion, but they're all fucking bullshit. Are you Eastern European? Bro, nobody debates religion anymore. It's not 2010. Listen, that's kind of true. But I'm just taking notes in it right now, okay? I'm not Eastern European. I'm an American. Fuck, what was I gonna say? But I don't even, well, like, what does that have to do? Like, the fucking Eastern European countries all wanted to be in NATO. They all voluntarily joined NATO. Poland wanted to be in NATO so bad that it fucking blackmailed its way into NATO. It literally fucking met with the like, Republican Party. Russia did want to be in NATO, yeah. Which maybe we should have accepted that. But like I don't know. I think it's largely a result. Okay, so even if we quote unquote provoked it, that still means Russia started it. Like, what do you mean provocation? I mean, like, it's countries joining a defensive alliance. I don't think it's provocation. Those countries want to be in NATO because they were fucking worried about Russia invading them. Because Russia invaded Georgia, and Russia fucking in the fall of the Soviet Union funded the resistance in Moldova, right? So they all wanted to be, because they wanted to have territorial integrity.
And paradoxical. Goes for omniscience, being all-knowing. That is, if
what makes you think Russia is imperialist? Bro, it is invading a sovereign country right now for territorial expansion. In 2014, it put troops in Crimea because it got fucking mad that Yanukovych left. I don't know, the sovereign country that it is invading right now. Also, it's influence, yeah, and yeah, it's fucking puppet state in Belarus, man.
Because we come across another thing that God cannot do. If God is truly omniscient, then that means that he can see the future. He knows every single.
You know about the, oh my fucking god, bro, you're gonna fucking base this off of a one leaked phone call, a snippet of one phone call between a fucking foreign minister, and say, oh, the 2014 was a fucking CIA coup? Bro, diplomats expressing a preference for who is in power in an interim government is not proof of a coup. It's not just a phone call. Oh, we did that shit. What do you mean we did that? We did not do that shit. It was the fucking Maidan protest, man. It's not absolutely not well documented. The only evidence is that one fucking phone call that was leaked by Russia, and it's a snippet of a phone call. That was a good coup, though. True. This shit's broken, man. I need a new mic stand. That was a great coup. I don't. If you can show me evidence, it's not just a phone call. We know how. I'm aware. I know we did all the fucking Pinochet and the helicopter rides and the disappearances and. What do you mean it's denied? It is denied, bro. Fuck. Oh, this is I love this video so much.
Man, it's 2001 and there is so much tension over Afghanistan right now. George Bush is threatening to invade, but as leftists, we really don't want war. So, you should really work on de-escalation. Afghanistan, we understand you have a radicalism problem, and this really scares the US fresh after 9/11. So what you should do now, Afghanistan, is to keep talking to the US. Keep George Bush talking. Listen to him. Give diplomacy a chance. Don't look threatening, don't say anything anti-American. Give peace a chance. Afghanistan, even as US troops are massing on your border, clearly preparing to attack, don't stop trying to solve the conflict diplomatically. You have to keep trying, Afghanistan. What's that? The US started this, not us? We didn't catch that, Afghanistan. We can barely hear you. What's that? The US launched the invasion? Okay, first off, it's a special military operation that only happened because you haven't extradited Osama bin Laden. I mean, the US bombarding your cities and murdering your people really is an understandable reaction. Besides, do you have any proof that the US committed these atrocities? It's more than likely that all the...
Everyone knows this happened financially. Not everyone knows this. This is not a conclusive thing. No, it's very controversial as to whether or not the U.S. was involved at all. And the only evidence I've seen is fucking of American funding NGOs and government agencies supporting Ukrainian politicians. Bro, that is not proof of a coup. American NGOs can do it. I'm sure there are American NGOs that do shit in Ukraine, just like there are American NGOs that do shit in every single fucking country.
Murder and destruction was done by Afghanis to try and frame the US, riding the wave of this bizarre Americophobic global sentiment.
American-funded NGOs. Bro, yes, America gives money to NGOs who like that. Like, I'm so confused. What you're trying to prove here. Unfortunately, fucking, it wasn't like... Oh, wait, this is the unrest. Hold on. Let's just... Okay, 2014. United States support. Like, I don't... John McCain visited Yanukovych and later discussed the crown, saying Ukraine will make Europe. Like, I don't... It's, yeah, it's like the phone call between the people. Victoria Nuland and the U.S. Secretary to say, to the extent of what's a coup, it's hard to say. Materially interfered with the political process in favor of our interest to undermine the Russians. What do we do? American NGOs did what? Helped you? Like, I'm sure. Like, what are you claiming? December 2013, the Ukraine Foundation that the U.S. government has spent about $5 million in democracy building programs in Ukraine since 1991. Like, I don't. Like, yeah, like I've read about this before. That we did give Ukraine $5 billion in 1991. Yes, we did. We gave aid to a lot of countries after the Soviet Union fell. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Yes, we gave aid to countries after the Soviet Union fell. We did that. It's just like the fucking like Marshall Plan. Like, we gave aid after World War II with the fucking Marshall Plan. We gave a lot of aid to countries. Democracy built. Yes, this was a new country. Its institutions were not strong. It's not normal aid. It's not like, what do you mean normal aid? The Russian government sees a statement claiming that the U.S. was, yeah, it's like fucking bullshit, man. February 2014, the phone call leaked. U.S. Department of State said, yeah. Shouldn't be surprised that politicians would discuss the revolution in Ukraine's future leadership. Like, it's fucking... No. You've been affected by the State Department's propaganda machine. I don't know. We gave aid to a ton of countries after the Soviet Union fell. I don't fucking understand, man. Like,
We're interested in peace above all, so now just let the US finish the job quickly, don't resist, and let them plant you firmly in the US sphere of influence, where you belong. The sooner you give up Afghanistan, the sooner the war will be over, thus the sooner will there be peace in our time. Because apparently this is how leftism works.
Yeah.
Fucking
Yeah, like I don't think like we gave aid. My understanding is that it was a pretty normal thing for the U.S. to give. And again, like this was in 1991. To say that like we had some incredible foresight that 30 years in the future there was going to be a fucking protest over whether or not Ukraine would join the EU. Hold on, I want to. They mentioned the $5 billion in here, and I think it was either Destiny or Jill that they had something. So many people predicted this war happened with Ukraine. What do you mean expansionism, bro? Russia is the expansionist imperialist force. The countries are joining NATO to not be fucking invaded by Russia. Imagine China was out, bro. If the U.S. was fucking threatening to invade Mexico, it would make sense that would happen. That would be okay. That would be chill. Okay. If the U.S. was funding breakaway states in if the U.S. was the imperialist force acting on Mexico and Mexico wanted to join a defensive military alliance, sure, whatever. Who gives a fuck? Even then, we probably still wouldn't invade Mexico. Like I don't know.
They had, quote, invested more than $5 billion in 1991 to help Ukraine achieve the future.
No, not good. What do you mean?
Deserves. Or sorry, no. Since 1991. Since 1991.
So since 1991, they've been investing money to have the coup in 2014. Do you not think that the Ukrainian citizens?
Wait, understand the context of that year?
Wait. What was the quote again? Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, let's hear the quote again.
Since USA had invested more than $5 billion since 1991 to help Ukraine achieve the future it deserves.
Achieving a coup. That could mean, hey, we're giving the money to help Ukraine get better.
Victoria Nuland had
Place Ukraine with Mexico and China with the U.S. Yeah, yeah. If the U.S. was making threats, if the U.S. was imperialist and like funding breakaway territories, view what happened. What do you mean? Yeah, I understand the analogy you make. If the U.S. was making a ton of threats to Mexico, if the U.S. had fucking troops on the border of Mexico. Also, again, even if right now Mexico joined a Chinese military alliance, I don't think the U.S. would invade Mexico. I don't think we would do that. I thought Adam something had a good fucking. We were trying to get $5 billion in ours. Yeah. It's not, I don't understand how any of that's justification for invading. Adam something. Fuck. Let's say China protects their power across the entire world and considers us to be an enemy of their state. Let's then their state they start making plays for political and military. A, even then, like I don't think we would invade Mexico. B, if we were threatening, I'm just don't kid. If we were threatening to invade Mexico, a sovereign country, then Mexico would be justified in joining the military alliance with China. Here it is, finally. This is like, wait.
The occasional genocide, and thus, during the protests, statues of Lenin became targets as the perceived symbols of the Russian world.
Like, the reality is, the only two things you have to point to are a leaked phone call, which proves nothing. It's one snippet of a leaked phone call that was literally leaked by Russia, and the $5 billion that we gave since 1991, which we gave a fuck ton of, like, I don't understand. We give money to aid in a ton of fucking countries everywhere. Like, countries have the right towards their own security interests. What do you mean? I don't understand. Like, why does Russia have a fucking right to lay Putin's ball sack all over Eastern Europe? No, you don't get to fucking do that. Those are sovereign countries, man.
George statues during the American War for Independence. But the will of the people never stopped the Russian or pro-Russian government from doing what they want anyway, and so Yanukovych held fast despite growing discontent. And his tactics to quell the protests were rather colorful. At one point, his prime minister started fear-mongering.
I don't like Russia itself acknowledged in 1991 the borders of in 1991 Russia literally said fucking these are the borders of Ukraine. We accept that Ukraine's a sovereign nation. And then in 2014, it took Crimea. Like, I don't. Yeah, and then the Ukraine literally gave up its nuclear weapons in exchange that there wouldn't be threats of violence or violence against Ukraine. The fucking Budapest Memorandum, right? Yeah. Not how the world works. No one can expect Russia to twiddle their thumbs while their geopolitical adversary amass it. What? In order, it would have to be. I don't like. In order for it to be perceived as a threat to Russia, we'd have to be planning like a ground invasion of Russia through Ukraine or something. Like, I don't understand what your fucking point is here. The only reason it's a threat to Russia is because literally. The only reason it would be a threat to Russia if Russia wants to fucking interfere with Ukraine. As long as Russia doesn't interfere with its fucking sovereign country, it's fine. It's chill.
Hello everyone, today we are going to take...
No, I don't get it, man. Putin doesn't have a right to interfere with whatever countries want. He's not organized as part of it. It's just a justification. Like, I don't understand.
I'm the organizer of some events.
The protesters' energy, however, was not infinite. By the 19th of February 2014, as the events dragged on for the third month, the protests briefly ran out of steam. People were...
We already have nukes in Turkey. We already have the 3 countries up in the Baltics. Like, is Ukraine going to be, that's the domino that we invade Moscow through? Like, is that really a thing you think is going to happen? That Russia's going to be invaded by a NATO country? Why are you just saying random stuff? In 2000, I don't care. I'm just curious. Do you think that NATO will, or any NATO country will actually invade Russia? I don't want to quote or a news poster. Yeah, what is it?
In 2008, Russia said...
Are you f***ing serious? Jesus Christ! The U.S. didn't launch it, Russia did.
Imagine if the country becomes destabilized and impoverished, and they do feel they're pushed into a corner, and they do feel like they have to defend themselves. They've made this clear that they will do that. So
defend
why?
themselves against what?
Against being attacked.
Well, who's attacking them?
Well, up until, I mean, again, you had...
Who's attacking them?
No one's attacking Russia. That's the whole point.
Are you guys okay with me just having a 12-minute running time, and then you guys will split it between each other, or do you want me to have 6 minutes and then 6 minutes?
Probably do 6 each, just make it a little easier.
Adam's doing the lion's share of our opening statement, so...
Yeah, well...
Like, I don't understand, man. I don't understand, man. There's nothing. There's no. The fact that you would say it's like it's not even contentious that like it was a fucking coup in 2014. Like when there's literally 2 very flimsy pieces of evidence.
Morality. You can't appeal to the objective morality of God as a stepping stone to proving that
we live in a world.
These factors are.
We don't live in a world. What do you mean? We have international law for a reason. We don't live in a world of laws. We don't live in a world that with a police that enforces laws and justifies it to violate. Everyone abides by the will of the strongest. What do you mean? I'm so. Part of the reason we're funding Ukraine right now is because we want to uphold international law because it's against because it's in our interest that international law. $5 billion in a rapidly expanding military aid program. What do you, bro? International laws. Look at Israel. What do you mean? Yeah, Israel breaks international law, and guess what? When Israel breaks international law, fucking the whole rest of the world condemns them, bro. Like I don't. Like not every country follows international law all the time. Sure, yes, whatever. But like. The world works better if we uphold international law rather than we support them. Sure, the world works better when we uphold territorial integrity than it does if we just let empires ravage the world. Like I don't understand. you don't commit international law. I mean, the end of World War II was supposed to put a stop to the practice of seizing visited territory from neighboring countries. Article 2 of the United Nations Charter states, all members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against territorial integrity, political interference. In theory, that's not... What do you mean, bro? We want to uphold international law for a reason. Upholding nations' political independence is proven to be more ambiguous, and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Like, you'd have to... The only justification for not upholding the territorial integrity of Ukraine is, well, I think Putin has a right to fucking rest his balls on Crimea, and it doesn't really matter if, I mean, that's kind of his sphere of influence, so he should be allowed to fucking... Then why do we veto ceasefire resolution against and let Israel run rampant in Palestine? Because the military operation in Israel right now is not against international law. There are some if there are like some things that Israel does that are against international law, but it's like a ceasefire. It's what Israel's doing. Macro right now. What is against international law that Israel is doing, like in Gaza right now? Like, there are specific things that Israel does, like for example the settlements or using white phosphorus, that are against international law. But like, I don't. But there's no. That's it. And again, like, international laws are obviously hard to enforce sometimes. Like, war crimes are against international law, settlements, blockade, etc. The blockade arguably is against international law. But vetoing the ceasefire, that's hey, the UN doesn't get to decide when a ceasefire is. That only Israel and Hamas get to decide when a ceasefire is. We can enforce all the laws. It's hard to enforce international law. This is a case where we are trying to uphold international law by fucking by giving aid to Ukraine. But even like without international law, here I have a question. Americans have the capacity. We don't. What do you mean we have the capacity to enforce it? Okay. When Obama tried to get a settlement freeze, the blockade isn't against. So my understanding is that originally the UN ruled that it wasn't against international law when they did their investigation of the Gaza flotilla raid, and then a year later, a different body in the UN ruled that it was against international law. But I don't know for sure if that's binding or whatever. But it's arguably it's ambiguous. I don't think that it should be. I think Israel's a right to blockade Gaza. But I just have a question. Don't you think that if we defend Ukraine, if we don't defend Ukraine, then every country is going to want nuclear weapons, because they're going to recognize that if they get that the only way to protect themselves from being invaded in the future is to develop nuclear weapons, as a because Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons in exchange for not being invaded. If we show the world that if a powerful enough country just fucking rolls in and invades you, if you don't have nuclear weapons, then every single country is going to need nuclear weapons to ensure its territorial integrity. I just don't like the world is a better place if we defend Ukraine. We already established that is the case by. What do you mean? We did when we invaded like Iraq. I don't think the invasion of Iraq was justified or anything, or Libya. I think Afghanistan was somewhat justified. The nation building there afterwards probably wasn't. But we didn't do that. We did that to get rid of terrorist forces. We didn't do that to literally conquer territory. It doesn't even, again, like, you don't think that every country is going to want nuclear weapons if we don't defend Ukraine? Because we're showing them that the only way to defend their territorial integrity is to have nuclear weapons, because otherwise the world's not going to come to your rescue if you get invaded. It's to spread liberal democracy based. the reasons are complicated for Afghanistan. Everyone already knows that. What? Knows what? That is true. So saying that's something not passed by Security Council, it's international law because then, yeah, I mean, general resolutions aren't binding, by the way. Like the General Assembly resolutions are not binding. And there's a lot of those against Israel. Nuclear weapons are the ultimate deterrent. True, but a world where not every country has nuclear weapons is probably a better world than a world where every country has nuclear weapons, right? Shouldn't we want to incentivize countries not to get nuclear weapons? If we show every country that if they don't have nuclear weapons, we're not going to help them when they're invaded, every country is going to develop nuclear weapons. What business do what do you mean? A, they're like our ally, okay, so we should help them. They're an ally of like us in the EU and the West in general. And B, what do you mean they're our ally? And I just said if we help Ukraine, the entire world is gonna be better off because every country is not gonna have as much of an incentive to develop nuclear weapons. If we show the world that we're willing to defend countries that are invaded by their bigger neighbors, then, if we show the world that we're willing to uphold territorial integrity, not every country is going to have a big incentive to develop nuclear weapons. There's so many senior government officials oppose our funding programs and NATO expansion, saying it was a mistake. And I don't know. It doesn't matter. I just don't like when you say provoking Russia. I don't know what you mean. It's a defensive military alliance. Like it. Oh, another porn bot followed me. Let's go. And also, like, we expanded NATO a lot under Clinton, and then Bush stopped expanding NATO as much. We literally tried for multiple years what you want. We tried not expanding NATO, and guess what? Russia fucking invaded anyway. So clearly, it wasn't about that. For wifey, Katie likes Georgetown fan. Clinton made a promise to Boris Yeltsin. Oh my fucking god, bro. So Clinton didn't make that promise. Number one, okay. I don't know why you think that a verbal promise between the Secretary of State with a country that doesn't exist anymore would still hold up. It was a verbal promise. I think even Gorbachev literally said afterwards that he didn't think the U.S. it was bound to it, right? Didn't Gorbachev literally say that? I think Gorbachev said conflicting things in it, though. So, but yeah, a verbal promise between the Secretary of State of the U.S. and Gorbachev or whatever doesn't. In general, I would oppose American coming to the defense of other countries because it sets a precedent that they can rely on American hegemony. Bro, the world that creates is a world in which every country wants to develop nuclear weapons. Do you think that's a more peaceful world? Do you think it's a more peaceful world if every state has to constantly worry about their bigger neighbor invading them? We should try to uphold it. The world works so much better if we uphold territorial integrity. That's politics. So it's trying to appease Yeltsin. I don't even understand. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. We don't live in a world where countries can rely on American hegemony for defense. There are many examples that. What? What do you mean?
Dude, I didn't make anything at all. Fuck. Where'd my one taco? I deleted it. Oh, Russia promote? Oh, fuck. Is that the debate topic? Oh, shit.
We're here to debate tonight. Destiny and I are here to argue against it, while our opponents will be arguing for it, surely. But
declining American hegemony would produce a less peaceful world, yes, but I'd be interested in a world order that is more conducive towards allowing development of alternatives to American hegemony and liberal democracy. Well, I'm a big liberal democracy fan, so it's hard for me to... I think the People's Republic of China has promising imperial power. A multipolar world can be more peaceful. It can maybe conceivably be more peaceful, but like I don't...
Aggressive imperialist dictatorships and their supporters also love playing the victim and otherwise lie, misdirect, and gaslight. The narrative our opponents...
But yeah, I mean, it would depend what those multipolar forces were doing. If they were upholding all I'm saying is that is it American disease? True. All I'm saying is that a world in which territorial integrity is upheld is a more peaceful world. If the multiple states, if Russia, China, Iran, and the U.S. are all upholding territorial integrity, then it probably would be more peaceful. If only the U.S. is trying to uphold territorial integrity and Russia and Iran aren't, then it's not going to be more peaceful. You can't socially engineer the world to your liking. I mean, I'm not arguing for like a liberal empire, okay? I don't think the U.S. should just fucking invade countries and try to turn them into liberal democracies. No, obviously not. I think that's retarded, okay? I think that is imperialistic and I think it's retarded. At the same time, the reality is, I don't think no one would have any problem. Look at American society 150 years ago, okay? 150 years ago in American society, women couldn't vote. Black people were discriminated against. Child worked in mines. There were company towns. Do you think that American society 150 years ago had worse values than it does today? Can you answer me that? Do you think that American society 150 years ago had better or worse or equivalent values than today? Which one? Probably what? Probably worse. Okay. True. I would agree. I think the U.S. You think it had better values 150 years ago when black people were discriminated, women couldn't vote? You think they had better values then? I would agree. Yes, they probably had worse value. They had worse values 150 years ago. I would say that. I don't know why this guy's contending that they had better values. Because it was just so much worse back then. But right now, the reality is, liberal democracies seem to have good values. They seem to value marriage equality. They seem to not discriminate against people. Like, we can talk about like systematic racism and stuff, and like there are, of course, democracies that don't have like marriage equality. But it seems like, in general, right now, Western values are essentially good. We essentially have good values for the most part, and I think it's important that we try to protect those. That doesn't mean invading countries that don't have those same values. I don't think we should do that, obviously, okay? But at the same time, I do think we have some essentially good values that we should protect. And it has to be protected with force, because there are people who, How did it work out trying to enforce liberal democracy? Yeah, obviously it didn't work. Nation building didn't work. Yeah, it was fucking retarded. I think that the period of time in development of capitalism appeared significant challenge to American traditional governments. What? Oh, you were responding to him, not me. Well, look at the Russian Federation is formerly a liberal democracy. That's actually a term for what Russia is. It's called an illiberal democracy. Do you believe in? No, I'm a moral realist. I'm not a moral relativist. American democracy. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Russia is an illiberal democracy. I need to go. Hold on. U.S. propaganda time. U.S. This is U.S. propaganda. Nothing is real democracy, but I am saying it is a illiberal democracy. It's a term for it, where it's like formally, technically a democracy. What is it? DNDP? That's so true. How good is our own democracy? Our democracy is flawed. Obviously, yes. Russia is 13 out of 10. Yeah. Oh, they're funny. Oh, it's just who allies with. Oh, West good and not the West bad. Can you believe it, guys? It's wild. But I don't. They do still have elections in North Korea. They just can only vote for Kim. He gets 99% of the vote. Are you a moral relativist, Tubby? Tubby Mo1. Yeah, I'd say so. Okay. Oh, that explains the difference. So just to be clear, if there was a society where they said, well, we think every third child must walk in darkness, and they blinded every third child, you would say that society is just as moral as our own. You are saying they implicitly. I mean, it's not based on any. That is absolutely analogous to reality. There are societies that mutilate the genitals of children, like in fucking Somalia. But yeah, it's a hypothetical. You would say hypothetically, let's say there was a society that because of their culture or religion, either way, they said, well, we believe every third child must walk in darkness. And they blinded every third child. You think that society is just as moral as their own because it's part of their culture? Because that's what they believe. They believe it's moral and it's part of their culture, and they've been doing it for thousands of years. All regimes that hold based on ignorance and nothing meaningful. What do you mean? It's based on their cultural and religious practices. Practice of genital mutilation? Yeah, it's based on their cultural and religious practices. What do you mean? Do you think it's immoral that they do that? Because I mean, yes, because their logic is retarded. Okay, so what good logic does? I don't. If you're appealing to like universal principles of like logic or whatever, then I don't know what you mean by relativist. Better example to compare Islamic value more morally gray. I mean, it's obviously more of a gray area than my hypothetical, but my hypothetical was to have a black and white. the point of the hypothetical is that if you accept it's immoral for a society, if you accept that it would be immoral for a society to, based on religious and cultural practices, blind every third child, then you should accept that it's immoral for the Taliban in Afghanistan to force women to wear cloth bags and cover their entire body and be subjugated to their husbands, even though that is based on cultural and religious practices. Or to, varying degrees of restrictions of women's rights and LGBTQ rights that occur in Iran and Afghanistan and a bunch of other totalitarian Middle Eastern societies. I don't see how those practices are equivalent. What do you mean? It's not true. So true, Copenhagen. What do you mean you don't see how those practices are equivalent? They're both something somebody does based on like religious and cultural practices. They're both like they're two different actions, but what's being gained from making women subjugated to their husbands? I don't think it doesn't matter what's being gained. What's being gained is that it's their religious and cultural practice. They believe that because of religious prophecy or because of their culture that every third child has to walk in darkness, or else their country will flood. We'll say, or else the crops will fail. Like, let's say that. Like, say that the descriptive basis of the belief seems incorrect. I mean, okay, then you're appealing to objective values. That's not an appeal to objective value. What do you mean it isn't? I actually think the whole supporting women didn't gain us a lot. We actually lost yeah, exactly. The point is, that's pointing out that a value is being predicated on something, on something objective, but that thing is not an objective value. What? Sorry, am I misunderstanding? It's criticism of their moral system because it's illogical. If you're okay, that's pointing out that why is Twitch doing that? Hold on, what the fuck? I can't read the message because whenever I highlight it, it does the like pin thing. I don't want to pin it. I want to just highlight it. That's pointing out that a value is being predicated on something objective. But that objective thing is not a value. But a value is being predicated on something objective. That objective thing is not a value. Like, is my brain just broken? Am I not? I don't understand what you mean. You think it's logical that the Taliban forces women to wear burqas or something? Like, what? Where do you draw the line here between logical and illogical? Because if you're appealing to like logical moral values, then one side of the world seems to have more logical moral values than the other. I don't necessarily see why different sorts of people ought to have the same rights. What do you mean different sorts of people ought to have the same rights? What does that mean? Why do they need different rights? Do you think, I just don't understand. Like, both of you are arguing that it would be moral for a society not to allow gay marriage based on their values. A value in and of itself is fundamentally irrational. I mean, I get what you're saying because they're axiomatic, sure. It can be based on real things. They're not just axioms pulled out of as. Western values are actually built using knowledge from the Enlightenment and such. But the fundamental, I mean, there obviously are values built on like Enlightenment things and such, but like there are certain axiomatic things that we have to agree to, right? Forcing burqas the way the Taliban does is not palatable, I agree, but the idea behind women wearing burqas is harder to critique. Why? Literally, because of their religious beliefs, they're saying women should be forced to wear cloth bags over their heads. I don't see that it's exactly equivalent to somebody, because of their religious beliefs, saying every third child must walk in darkness. There's just different degrees of severity between forcing every third child to be blind and forcing women to wear clothes or burqas. Today, Tuesday. Well, it's I would say when it comes to minimalism women, there are lots of factors to consider. I don't. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Opponents will likely try to construct tonight is just that, a world where poor Russia, the victim, was forced into attacking Ukraine through circumstances created by the evil West. At the same time, they will downplay or deny every obvious Russian atrocity, blame everything on Ukraine, shift the goalposts, or maybe even peddle bunk conspiracy theories, such as the US-funded biolabs inside Ukraine. I do not envy their position. To better start us off, let's quickly review the Russian narrative regarding the invasion of Ukraine. The original claim was, we aren't planning to attack, it's just NATO fear-mongering. Then, we're only there for a military exercise with Belarus. And then we're taking Kiev and denazifying Ukraine by liquidating its leadership of drug-addicted Bandera neo-Nazis. And then we're only ensuring Ukraine's neutral status by demilitarizing it. And then we want to take out the US-funded biolabs in Ukraine that produce anthrax-infected bats and further bioweapons designed to target Russian genes. And then we just want to secure the Donbass and to protect locals from genocide. And finally, the current justification, we just want to take out the Ukrainian ultra-nationalist battalions. As I said, I do not envy our opponents' positions. This is quite the position to defend. Any argument they'll attempt to make will have to be made from across the smoldering ruins of Ukrainian cities, the mountains of dead civilians, and the ruins of hospitals in the midst of Russian orchestrated abductions, murder, torture, deportations, and general looting. All in all, I'll be curious to see how our opponents will try to defend the indefensible, though I don't expect any good faith engagement from them, obviously. As the saying goes, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, denies it's a duck, demands you prove it's a duck, accuses you of being a duck, says your dog is a duck, that your friend's cat is a duck, and that all three aforementioned ducks are Russophobic, it's a Kremlin duck. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Adam. Something, Destiny, would you like to take your 6 minutes for opening statement?
I would just like to say I agree with every single thing that Adam said.
And you're muted.
I'm sorry, am I unmuted now?
Yep.
Obviously, I would like to agree with everything that Adam said. Oftentimes, when talking about the justification of Russia's invasion of
I think that one division between men and women represents a more fundamental division of castes within the human species. Both have different roles to play within the reproductive process. Sure, and this has widespread ramification for these two kinds of people. Yeah, but we're talking about literal rights here. We're talking about like respecting natural rights. We're not talking about like family roles or whatever. We're talking about rights.
Ukraine.
And of course, as a result of this, men and women have been selected different secondary sexual categories as well. What do you mean natural rights? I mean natural rights, man. There are many more values. Why is one moral system superior when it weighs on a set of values differently? These kinds of, because some values are going to maximize well-being, some values aren't going to maximize well-being. Obviously, valuing equality over racism is better because it maximizes well-being better. Because the well-being of conscious creatures is superior, seemingly. Natural rights, what? Thomas Aquinas? I mean, like the fucking Enlightenment natural right stuff, man. John Locke and natural rights. And when I say natural rights, I more just mean like fundamental rights. Like there's, yeah, obviously the difference between saying, like I agree, like men and women will play different roles in a family. They do that across all of human society because biologically it seems like they're just tuned to do that. But to say it's okay to make women wear cloth bags over their heads 24/7 because men and women are different. I think that's a little unhinged, bro.
And whether or not Russia was provoked, I think that the lens is always spoken through a kind of United States and NATO versus Russia kind of framing. And I would be interested in how we can overcome the concept of Ukraine's right to defend itself. I think that Ukraine has a right to determine its own sovereignty. I think that its borders were already agreed upon with Russia, and I just don't believe that there's any real provocation that Russia can talk about when it comes to invading Ukraine. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, thank you so much. And we'll go
What's
ahead.
the basis of these natural rights? It's just, what do you mean? It's a fundamental axiomatic moral thing. Like it's
Get over to
Yeah. It's just because obviously respecting these rights seems to maximize well-being than not respecting these rights. Yeah, but I could pose many situations where your moral system couldn't defend itself because of how gray morality is. I mean, I would agree. Like there are obviously gray areas. There are obviously cases where like dude, things are hard, but there are easy answers in a lot of places, and forcing women to wear cloth bags is not conducive to well-being.
Whichever one you want to go first.
All right, that would be me. So here we go. Yeah, just 1 second here. Here we go. Russia's invasion of Ukraine on February 23rd was an unjustified act of aggression. I, along with my debate partner.
I think the benefits of having men and women in equal society is big. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, there's a reason like every like economically successful country lets women work. Because restricting half of your labor force. It's not clear to me that natural rights, particularly if this means embracing movements like feminism, but it depends. What do you mean? When you say feminism, you'd have to go into detail of like what level of feminism, because I could see your point. Like if you say like, oh, the new whatever fucking fourth wave feminism, like I could see a little bit of what you're talking about. You can make an argument for like respecting family values, feminism, like first wave feminism. Yeah, I know, but like, I mean, like first wave feminism, just let women vote, right? Do you think women should be allowed to vote? I can understand more where you're coming from if you talk about like the sexual revolution stuff. I could at least understand that more, even if I don't agree with it.
As a citizen of Russia, a farmer in Russia, and a father of 3, holding such opinions is not exactly safe at the moment. I have spoken up both publicly on my YouTube channel as well as privately in conversations with friends and acquaintances, condemning the war even though such opinions are currently illegal to share and punishable by up to 15 years in prison. So why would I, who am against the war, claim that the West is largely responsible for the mayhem now
Why would you have opposed that?
in the Ukraine? I believe primarily that America's disregard for the legitimate security concerns of lesser powers, in this case Russia's, puts all of us at the risk of war and potentially nuclear annihilation. What I'm about to present is the other side of the story, a story of 30 years of Western aggression, broken promises, and bad faith that, if seen on the other side, go a long way to explaining the
I don't see any reason I've supported it. You don't think that women should have had a right to vote? What do you mean? If you do you think men should have had a right to vote? Using the Taliban as an easy target, yes. But the world of secular Islam is the future Islam, and the value system is harder to challenge. Yes, there may be cases where it is harder to challenge. All I am saying is that there are values in the West that are worth protecting. That's all I'm saying. I think we have some values that are essentially good, and it is worth protecting those values. Oh, what's up, Hollow Husk? You came in at an interesting moment. Yeah, let me change we're basically having a war. I think it's having it now. All I heard was all I'm saying, literally all I'm saying is that there are some values the West has which are essentially good, and those are worth protecting. That doesn't mean we have to invade every single fucking country for the rest of the time to enforce those values in other places. All it means is that there are legitimate reasons to protect our values. Yeah.